And hello, everybody. Thank you for your introduction, Mr. Visual. Hey, as usual. Well, today we're going to have a great webinar again after a while. Yes, we're going to see warehouse management. And well, let me introduce myself on Business Central as well. Yes, I'm a Dynamics consultant. And I also check some retail activities, and we are now working directly with the webinars again. So every week we are going to have different topics where here in Optimus.guru we are going to be able to see all of our webinars that we are going to have. Let me just show you the page. And so you can follow, because we have also certification programs that will be very appealing to all of you. And that are great for learning, actually, because what we present in every webinar is let me just up this. The top of the art when it comes to our technologies in Microsoft. And this is very, very useful when we are actually try to go into the next step, into what the system can offer us. And this is very, very useful as well. Also, this is only the webinar that we're going to have today, but we are updating this in Optimus.guru. In the training tab, you're going to be able to see every topic for all the weeks that we're going to have in May, right? So this is the last training of April, but we soon are going to be updating the following month, which is May. We're going to have very interesting topics. If you want to see how we replenish with a Cortana intelligence, now this helps you to do all the things with inventory, some purchasing, also with this, and why not services, other type of webinars with all the new technologies that we now offer. They are very, very interesting. So, well, today we're going to see warehousing. And without any delays, we're going to start checking out what Business Central offers, right? For those of you who haven't worked before with Business Central, just let me give you a 5-minute introduction. Business Central is a new technology known before as NAB, now BC, or Dynamics, this long name, Dynamics 365 Business Central. But we consultants, or here in the industry, we just call it BC. What it has is that now we do not work isolated as like a software that you install in your server, right? But we are connected. Either you can work on premises or in the cloud. On premises means only that we can implement this in your own facilities, in your servers, or you can as well have a hosted server with Azure maybe, or Amazon, or other type of in the cloud services that is the new type of technology available for our ERP technologies, and other type of tools that we are going to be using as well in our webinars for you to see. So the idea is that you can select from any of those, but here what we see is that we are using Business Central with a simple browser. Let me just show you. I'm using just Firefox. This could be Google or Internet or Edge. And with only one browser, you're going to be able to use all this technology. So that's one of the advantages. You can now decide where you want it, because now, well, we have this option available, which is now the most preferred type of technology in the cloud, actually, that we are actually just implementing, since it has a lot of advantages. If you want, I can send you brochures about this topic, which are very interesting, and they are going to give you a lot of insights about it, right? But the main thing is that you're going to be now able to be connected. What it is like a Business Central, all this that we are seeing is the main page. Here, this is like seeing actually any website that you open, where it's telling us, good morning, administrator, which is today my user. And guess what? Now we see only the important things, from design from our designs, we can design this for you, only the important information in this first page, only for your user. Let's make an example, because today, actually, I'm a manager for my division, and I'm gonna be able to see the purchasers, some KPIs, for instance, these are the sales of the month, right? But for the same period, I still have some invoices that need to be paid. Also, I need to pay some invoices here, right? And guess what? Now we have predict overdue invoices. So we have intelligent KPIs with Cortana that we have connected here that are going to tell us a lot of information that we are not calculating. Cortana is helping us to see a lot of insights. But that's very good. We're going to see this then with any of these KPIs, or here some activities like how many sales you have, quotations, all your work for your specific role, right? So we have for the manager approvals and payments to approve for his specific division, which is a most important topics. Now, we also have OCR technologies available, everything without using any type of programming. Also, we have connections with Office 365, which is super, it has been there for a while, but now we're going to be having connections with other type of technologies. Let me show you, well, of course, we have a different type of charts that we can accommodate, like in this case, well, for my top customers, my favorite accounts that I use in my division in order to pay the payments, like my petty cash, accounts receivable from customers, etc., etc. Now, why not to see the total revenue of my division for the specific months that I'm working now, right? The margin, and any type of calculations that you want to see. Maybe you want to see the profit of your area or the expenses of your department as well. Well, why not to just present that information in your screen? So you decided, but all of this is because by checking all this brief introduction, let me just show you that also we have all these 4 different roles in your company, designed for people in finance, in human resources, for purchasing, projects, all these roles that you're checking here. Well, the screens are completely different, pre-designed, out of the box. You don't have to use any programmer in order to, of course, see your most important information. Very well. Also, we have, this is a multi-language, multi-currency environment. So very, very useful. But the most important thing now with these new technologies is that, guess what? We are now connected with all different new applications. Very, very, very useful now. For instance, within my company, we normally have to download Outlook, Word. That used to be in the past. This is in my demo company, but this can be used now. But at the same time, if I check my email, now I'm going to be connected, and Outlook is going to be actually having the connection with Business Central directly, from where, as an example, for instance, I'm receiving a quotation new, okay, an email. This is in my Outlook, so this customer would like to, some of my products, Spotlight and a case, thank you in advance. And I told you that we have business intelligence, right? So business intelligence can read the emails that you're receiving, and this can be transformed immediately into a sales quotation, because look at this, we have here Business Central connected as well with Outlook, just to check your information. You don't have to work anymore on all of this since it's connected. This can be transferred into a sales quotation directly into Business Central, correct? And what else is very, very, very good? Which is very good. Also, from Business Central, we just can work as an example, right? We can see our details here. Okay, actually, this is already reading. I'm having a contact who works in one of my clients. Is very, very intelligent, very useful. It's checking Noe Wellman, which is, well, in this demo myself, works for one of my customers at that corporation. He wants some products, and well, I can see the statistics of the customer just immediately. This just took 30 seconds to start reading what is the work that I currently have. Let's take a look, the details, the past due overdues, the sales, what else? The age, accounts receivable. Sometimes it's not good to see all of this information, you know, because you want to continue selling. But if you have a lot of receivables, well, you might be thinking about it. But with business intelligence, if you want to sell, also Cortana helps you to predict if you're going to have payments on time. And this is just an integration. All the integrations that we have available, we have also Teams, where Teams is, let's say, a Facebook for your companies internally, where you can post news, you can have chat rooms. Let me just, not in the app, and let's take a look at the web. So you can see that everything is now on a browser. All these applications, Outlook, Word, Excel, Business Central, everything is in the cloud now. So, okay, I'm going to be opening, like in Facebook, we open a specific group or different channels that for your most important or relevant information or social activities. Here in Teams, we have the same, but for our company. I'm going to take a look at the retail because I'm part of that. And we have a general page where I can see, okay, Johan Lawrence is telling me some important messages about merchandising. She's asking to do some reviews. And here we have the answers. But also here, somebody approved a new customer, right? And this is checking information from Business Central. And we have a lot of different, okay, so somebody approved the new customer, 2 new customers, and Megan also responded, okay, very well. So if I check Business Central, all these different posts, all this information is actually there. So I could continue forever with this type of, but you just take the idea of it, how this could be helping you internally for your approvals, for your important information. What else? Intelligent Cloud. Intelligent Cloud is giving me some insights from my company, like my cash available is minus 88,000. So this is not good for the demo. Actually, it's because I'm doing exercises with my warehouse only without checking the financial side. But hey, let's take a look. Actually, Cortana is telling me, hey, take a look at this. This is not good at this point. And I never calculated, I never reviewed, I never did a report. 41 of your customers are late. This is the reason as well. So I have some insights and I could, why not click on that? To see the detailed information. Cortana is checking this, is checking my invoices all in red because they are overdue since March, since we actually post more or less on those days our webinars. But these documents were there in my last demos, and now Cortana is telling me, hey, you need to review these. So in the future, I'm going to make an AR training just to avoid seeing these red numbers because I have a lot of documents, as you can see here. But this is good because I never, believe me, I never touch anything, and Cortana is telling me what is important now in my company, just to review. Okay, and you can take actions later based on that. Well, this now is helping the Business Central division manager, and the same is going to happen because since we are going to see today the warehousing activities, Cortana is also there. Okay, so hopefully with that introductions, we just more or less understand what is now the top of the art when it comes to our company activities. Okay, but basically today we're going to see just the inventory and the warehouse activities. So what I'm going to do first is just checking my items. Let me just give you now an introduction of our activities for today as well, because we are going to see the basic inventory, basic warehousing activities. We're going to see what are the flavors of the different warehousing and what it means, because you can use this now to be implemented in your company. Basic warehousing is when basically we just actually have a purchase. Let's make an example, but in one purchase order, you do everything. Okay, let's take a look at that. But before going, we are gonna check the basic, the intermediate, and of course WMS, or the idea of WMS is that we are going to be able to handle all the warehousing activities. Let me then just give you now, before going to the flavors, let's take a look at some of my inventory. So I having some technology items here. Look at my beautiful pictures, which you can upload. We are going to be working with all of these. We have different type of inventory items. In this case, well, we can assembly if you want them. Let me take a look. Not only by the pictures, but also all of our items are part of the inventory that you can create. We can have expenses, items that are services, non-stock items, maybe your supply, like the pencils, the papers. You don't want to count that in your warehouse, but you still purchase them. That's what we call non-stock. What else? Let me show one of the items that we have, just to present some info. Now my item, Delhi One computer, is here. This is an inventory type of items, service, non-inventory. We're going to be working only today with inventory type of items because we're going to be working in the warehouse process. So the other ones, service or non-inventory, exist, but they are not for today. In the following webinars, our explanation of the inventory will be a little bit more detailed, but in general, every item that I use for my warehouse is a stock item. I count the item, in other words. I know the unit of measure of the item. We have different units of measures that we actually require to update. We have warehouse, the barcodes, variants, if sometimes the same item has different size or different. So you don't have to create items by all the different type of variants that or variables that you have. In one single item, you can create all of that. Now, also we have item attributes here, like why not the brand? In this case, well, the size of the screen, the memory, processor. So all of your items now carry all this information from scratch. You can start designing your items with all different features. But for today, the most important is that we're going to have a base unit of measure. This is telling me, whatever, how we actually use, you can stock your item with pallets. You can stock your item or sell in different type of units of measure, or purchase in different unit type or different unit of measures. That's the idea. Let's create all those unit of measures that we have. We have all these different features, a box, scan, day, each hour, even time, etc. So the inventory design also includes, of course, replenishment. This could be, in this case, an assembly item, but we can just purchase it, or even we can produce it. So just a few things that might be important for your warehousing activities. I can purchase the components, assembly in the warehouse for this type of criteria, or just purchase and resell the item. Also, we have some item tracking functions whenever I design. Item tracking code refers to serial numbers and lot numbers, which are very important to identify my items. If I purchase, for instance, batches for some type of products, maybe food, you need to review your caducity for the type of batch of different products that you purchase for a certain day, and then review if you can still sell, make inventory reports of how many kilograms of food is still good to sell. And now serial numbers help me to identify, for instance, if I offer warranties, when I sell an item, then it's very important then to review the warranty by serial number, because I sell many times the same computer, but the serial number is going to help me to identify some particular information, like the warranty, like the expiration date as well, if it needed, by specific item. Now, we have also now the warehousing tab. Most important tab that we're going to see for today. And here we're going to start checking what do we have. Okay, first of all, one of the important topics that we need to check for any warehousing activities is that if any of your items is fast, do you sell it a lot? Is normal or is slow? All right. Now we can start counting the item, and just by selecting this, Business Central is going to give me the next counting start date. So this is just by design how many times you need to count in a year, or maybe if that's not the case, that is very, very fast, well, maybe just one in the entire year at the end as an example. Okay, so well, just to mention for those of you who haven't seen yet Business Central, of course, we need to update the cost, we need to update the price and sales, and some other purchasing related information that is going to help me to review my cost and prices whenever I work with this. Not very important for the warehousing yet, but of course, all this information is here. Just a brief introduction into a random product, all right? So we have assembly, you can produce or purchase your item. Okay, that's it basically. Now let's go and try to start once we see the best or the most important info, just general information for an item. Let's review the warehousing activities. The warehouse is going to actually allow me to include in a physical place my inventory. This could be a store, this could be my main warehouse, or this could be even virtual. Like for instance, sometimes we have adjustments for some stores, or if you have trucks and you can still, anyway, you still need to follow your in-transit inventory, why not to create a warehouse as well? So for that, I have, as an example, I'm working in a multi-site environment. In my multi-site environment, I actually have my main warehouse. I also call some warehouses by their geographical area, the East warehouse and so on. And also I have my own logistics. This could be your trucks or this could be outsourced, right? But I have own and outsourcing logistics for my inventory that I still have in transit. As well, I have stores, right? The stores are very important for me because this is where I have my point of sale. And internally, I have some specific warehouses. In this case, of course, I have a lot of warehouses. That's the idea, where I use WMS, which these warehouses, as you can see, they have all my physical or warehouses or locations that I have. They have different uses for my inventory. Some of them are just for distribution, some of them are for sales operations, and some of them, like in WMS, is because they use bins. Actually, that's the main difference, but not only bins, but capacities. And this is a very, very advanced type of warehousing where I'm going to be able to actually integrate intelligence as well to help me replenishing internal shelves. But you need to understand that in order to go that way, you of course need to be very organized in your own a warehouse as well, right, to implement this type. So what happens here before going into the actual activities is that my main warehouse is my basic warehouse for now, for my example, where I'm going to be purchasing and review what activities are included in the main warehouse. Then I'm going to go and check another warehouse that has medium setups that I'm going to be showing to perform basic or medium warehouse, right? Activities or medium, I refer into what type of inventory management I have, right? And of course, WMS at the end of our session, all right? I'm not gonna check today the stores because even though I have a inventory there, of course, but this is only related to sales activities, right? But today, the most important topic is just to review the internal main warehouse activities. That's very, so hopefully I'm giving you a hint of what we're gonna check. Okay, once I'm explaining just the basics of Business Central inventory and what warehouse requirements or necessities are in a demo that maybe is related to your company. Now, I'm going to start by explaining the basic warehousing process. In order to explain what is that, it's very, very simple. I'm not gonna go in depth with that, but I'm just going to show you a simple transaction by doing a purchase order and explain you what is it. Okay, once again, those of you who haven't seen yet Business Central, what I'm gonna start checking now is the catalog of purchase orders. And here I'm going to create a new purchase order, right? This could be a quotation to make a negotiation as well, and then later create a real purchase order. We have approval workflows, like you can see some options. I have my request approval. I can print or send, which we are going to do now. So the purchase order actually includes all the information from my vendor that I just picked now. I'm just picking from my list of vendors, and I'm just going to random select one of the vendors that I have. This will be the Wide World Importers. Immediately, the information is present here, coming from the actual vendor card that I updated. So if you want to, actually, when we implement, you just give us in Excel all your catalogs, your items, your vendors, customer GL accounts, different catalogs in your company. And for us, it's easy as uploading Excels into the Business Central in the cloud or your own facilities in order to actually have all this great information available for us for all our transactions. Just to give you a hint of the implementations, we do it through our methodology we call Rapid Start by using Excel files. So in order to actually save us some work. Okay, once I have included my vendor, I have all the general information. The contact is Toby Road, most importantly for the purchaser, because he's going to be my contact, correct? Also very important, the dates of the purchases, because it's going to be, now with Business Central, we're going to be able to, with intelligence, calculate more or less when we are going to expect to receiving this inventory. It's more importantly for your sales force, so they can see when they are going to be able to have your inventory. Now the vendor, the balances, outstanding orders, all the different warehouse, vendor information available here for the purchase orders. No refunds from for this vendor. Here the payments that I have been doing for the last vendor, and I have been paying as well since the last webinar I did actually in March for this payment activities topic. Okay, basically that's it. So just general information whenever you want to purchase. And what is basic warehousing? Okay, what am I gonna do now is I'm just going to introduce some items that I'm going to be requesting now to be purchased and received in my basic warehouse or with the basic setups that is called the main warehouse. Just to understand, when we talk about basic warehouse, I'm going to include just a quantity, is because we are just actually using only a purchase order in order to perform all my activities, right? Nothing else. That's warehousing, basic warehousing, that's it. Oh, very important. Also, Cortana is telling me that the forecast for this item specifically is going to be 153 for the following months. So he's not expecting too many sales operations. So this is very useful and for our purchasers. They can see the forecast because this is checking the history of this item. Of course, this could be not on a horizontal line because this is a demo and I'm not selling all the items. But in your company, this could be maybe a decreasing or increasing curve, or maybe just more or less static like this one, but it's giving you a hint of, according to the last year and recent history of this item, and with the benchmark of the actual inventory, how many units this is actually forecasting to be there in your company. So, well, this could be helpful just to take decisions. Once I have included then this HP Pavilion laptop in my main warehouse, then the only idea is to actually just receive these 10 units in my warehouse. In order to do so with basic warehousing, in a purchase order, you do everything. That's the main idea of the basic warehousing. In the quantity to receive field, you can update how many units you are about to receive, and the quantity to invoice as well will be following, because we have a rule as a best practice in Business Central. You can only invoice the quantity of items that you actually have in your facilities or in your warehouse. Not, you cannot pay in advance unless we set up for you a prepayment, but that's another type of invoicing. This is just a regular one. Okay, so the first idea of, let me just come back one simple step. Before doing the reception, you would need to, as a purchaser, actually send this information after your negotiations of your HP Pavilion laptop, the prices, the units, the unit of measure that you want to purchase, etc. The idea is that you would need to then later send this. Either you want to send a request to approval, or you just want to send and print it and save it in your computer as well, right? Request approval means that I cannot send it to the vendor unless my managers, maybe as an example, approve this, all right? But the information, the items, the unit of measure, the cost, etc. But in this case, I'm not going to use the request approval function since we are not checking purchasing, and I'm just going to send the information to my vendor. Just to review, the idea is that just give you some hints of the functionality. And by using this is connected to Outlook, of course. This is helping me to create my emails immediately just with one button, and with the attachments already with my official documents of my company, like the purchase order done in this example in PDF. You can use Word, Excel, tell us what would you like to have there in those emails pre-configured. And here I have just an official document that will be the purchase order report with the actual information of the inventory that I will be using. So this is what the vendor is going to be actually checking, right, in PDF in this example as an attachment, so they can see what I want, when I want it, and in this case, for my basic warehouse. This is the address for the actual ship to address warehouse where I'm expecting to receive my inventory. This is, by the way, a Kronos technology company that is located in the USA. So in my warehouse is located here, and for my purchase document that the vendor is going to be receiving, he's going to check the address here. By doing so, most importantly for then once I have sent it, you can just click OK. I'm finalizing here. Immediately, you also have the email that is the email of the contact of this company that I have. So just with one click, everything is done. Once you, and even if you receive the approval from your managers, just send it. Everything is done automatic. From the actual intelligence side, giving you hints of whether you should purchase or not according to the sales forecast side. From actually then later create the emails with the attached PDF immediately. In 2 seconds, I have finalized my purchase. Actually, it's taking me more time now to make maybe actually just negotiations. After that, I'm going to be then at some point need to release the order. So by releasing it, because remember, I'm doing everything in a purchase order, right? That's the idea, reviewing the forecast, send it to the vendors, doing all my activities, and also the warehouse side is that if you want to actually make available, well, just let's release. We have different statuses. So it's open because it's being edited currently, but once I have sent it, this will be released. The status release means that in the warehouse, well, now the warehouse clerk, because I'm the administrator and I can open all the documents, I'm going to be able to see now in my warehouse. If I reopen the purchase order, we are going to be giving a tablet now to the warehouse clerk so he can open Business Central. In his tablet, he can attach a scanner to that mobile or handheld for WMS. But since you have now basic warehousing, you can use the scanners in your tablet's mobile technology now available. In the past, you should need programmers and a lot of different type of processes in order to actually do that. Now, in Business Central, within the cloud technology, we just do it by having a mobile. They can open this purchase order as well, but now, the only downside, this is very helpful because you can do everything in one single document without complicating your life. And the basic warehouse, in this case, the main warehouse that I have here is actually just, let's say, how to put it, a black box. It doesn't have areas. It doesn't have machinery inside. It's just like a black box where I can just include inventory that is not yet organized, but at least I have a way to know where and how many pieces I have. So that's it. Then I'm going to start checking the quantity that I'm going to be receiving. The vendor is arriving at some point to my warehouse, providing, and the warehouse clerk is going to review the quality of the product, and he's going to be selecting the quantity to receive. Done from a purchase order, then he can register his activities by changing the quantity and post either the receipt and the invoice, or maybe you have two people in your warehouse. Somebody's only receiving, right? And then somebody then later is going to check after, because at this point the warehouse clerk is scanning or checking the quality as well. And that's why we call it basic, because one or two employees does the same, it does everything, in one single document. So I'm going to start receiving. And what it means is that in parallel to my purchase order, nevertheless, I'm just doing everything in a purchase. The idea is that I'm going to be now creating a second document that is called a receipt. And this reception document, or receipt, is a second document that I have that Business Central created for me. So everything is linked to a single purchase order. Now this purchase receipt is containing the information only of 5 pieces that I received in my main warehouse. So within your purchase order, you are going to be now checking how many receptions you have for that specific purchase. Everything is linked. So from the purchase order, I'm opening all the receipts available that somebody is performing. So maybe you, the purchaser, or the inventory manager, or the warehouse manager, you can check every document, how many items you have received per purchase, or if you still need to continue counting in order to continue receiving more and more and more. Okay, but the idea that I want to give is that everything is done in my single purchase document, right? So what happened here, I have received 5 pieces, right? And I still need to check, the quantity to receive that I'm going to be having available only now is 5 only, right? In order then, in a second step, I can then invoice the 10 pieces once I receive the other quantity to receive, or 5 pieces left that I still need to receive. After that, I could just invoice at this point only the 5 pieces that I have received as an example. And then let me just create the invoice as well, because this, and remember, everything is done from the single document. That's the idea. Hopefully I'm giving you what is important here and some other important information in Business Central. Okay, so now we have invoices, receipts related to this purchase. We are going to be able to have prepayment and credit memos as well. So everything will be controlled from the same document. So you are going to be able to see, and you can see how this will be solving all your issues for the specific basic warehousing done from one single site, and controlling all your activities, your reception, your invoices, your prepayment and credit memos whenever you need, related to the same purchase in one single document. Let me just finalize by posting, and then you can receive an invoice, just the 5 pieces that were left. And with this, we finalize the basic warehouse. Oh, this is asking me for something. Remember, now that everything is connected, AP is going to need to check, give me the invoice of my vendor before you actually register everything, because I'm going to need I'm going to need the invoice information that the vendor is providing, right? Because the idea is that they're going to need to pay, and by this number, you ask it, or the warehouse clerk receiving the invoice from the vendor needs to update the vendor invoice in the purchase order, so later AP can follow up the payments related to all of my receipts documents. Okay, and the invoice that I created mainly. Okay, but remember, I'm creating the invoices, and then I'm just going to click on post, and that's it. What happened here? What is the downside of the basic warehousing? Well, maybe your warehouse clerk doesn't know all of this. We need to train them. They actually, the most important thing only for the warehouse is the quantities they are receiving, the unit of measures, the pallets, the what else, the type of the variant, the colors, etc. Right? So that's the most important thing. And maybe they do not anything about taxes. They don't do not everything about the vendor information. It's not important. That will be the only downside of the basic warehouse side. All right, but well, like I said, we just only train the people because we know that for basic warehousing, you are not going to have a large team of people working with this. And for that type of team activities and larger facilities, we are going to present other processes. Okay, so as you can see, it's very easy. Just giving you some hints by doing a simple transaction, including all these activities in the basic warehouse. Okay, as well, if you have doubts, just please let me know. I know we have a lot of people now checking this webinar, and if you have, even though this is we are in the easiest part of the webinar, if you have doubts, please let me know. If you have doubts about what do you do in your company, and also, very important, by the end, we are recording this. All of you who are actually accessing, you are going to be reviewed because you are now part of the certification of Business Central in Optimus. So good news for that. All right, or you can see the recorded videos in the future if you access to our support channel, so you can see all the information available, where we include not only webinars, but Business Central updates, instruction manuals, if you want to see something specific. All right, so basically that's the idea. And why not? Once I'm already checking, because the Business Central a role center is going to allow me to change the screen, right? So in order to continue showing the levels of warehousing, what am I gonna be doing is, why not to change the role for the warehousing manager. Okay, let's try to do so now. If I wanted, you, of course, you can change your language. Okay, well, I have thousands of languages, but in this case, you just need to select the one that you have, okay, in your company. This is a multi-language. Tell us which languages you would like to use, and voila. And the entire system then will be actually translated into your preferred language. What I'm checking now is that I will be now changing my screen to make the warehouse clerk available to check the information now, and so we can continue with the webinar this way. Let me see. We have a late in the opening of the screen. Let me open. Sorry for the delay. We have all our environments in Azure in Microsoft. Sometimes they're going under some maintenance. So let me check that part. Something is going on there. Or maybe I should just select another browser. That's going to be helpful. Business Central. One second, please. Yeah, it's a sure making some maintenance. Okay. As well, when we work with the warehousing side, the idea is that we need to check in the following flavor of warehousing. What we're going to be doing while this is actually opening is because we do not often sometimes, even with basic warehouse, we don't do everything in one single purchase order, right? We sometimes is just divide. Whenever we are actually purchasing, we're going to have our purchase order, and in the other hand, in the warehouse, we're going to have reception documents, right? So I can separate the information specifically because the warehouse clerk, he doesn't want to see vendor information, basically, right? Taxes or prepayments or all that. So the idea of the second level of warehousing we're about to see is because we need to separate those activities from each other, so I can actually verify that my documents are separated to divide purchasing activities from warehousing activities. So that's the second level, and this is what we're going to be reviewing in our following exercise. So you can see actually this is still somehow basic, right? But at this point now, you're going to have document information. The same is going to be happening for the sales side. You're going to have a sales order which we're going to be creating, but separating the shipping information from that document. So instead of only having a purchase and a sales order, we are going to have a purchase, a reception document, a sales order, and a shipment document. So we're going to be presenting 4 documents instead. So with that, the idea is that that's how we start conducting some differentiations in order to make the process better, more clean, by separating and creating documents instead. So some documents that will be dedicated for different activities. Okay, this is still updating. Okay, let me verify what's going on, just to continue with the webinar while this is setting up the info. Maybe this is going to take 2 to 3 minutes more just to finalize. Okay, why not? Let's make something. In this part, what am I going to be doing is doing from the Outlook email that we had before, where in this case, from my company, I received an email to make a quotation, correct? But this is for a sales operation where I can include my medium level warehouse while I check if this is updating. Let me just close that for a second. And what I'm going to do is create a sales order from scratch. And let's see, because we can actually just continue to work. It's as well the same. It's being tenant from Azure. Let me call Microsoft, excuse me. They are running maintenance operations without telling us. Maybe I can open it and Let me continue the webinar in my own computer as well. This will be good to show another browser in and the on-premises. Let's see. Good. Okay, Business Central being open. Okay. Okay, coming back. Okay, what I'm checking now, I have changed to my on-premises, actually same Business Central, same activity, same everything. But now this is my on-premises client, but as you can see, well, in the local host, but we are still checking the same information, the same screens. Okay, now it's only that I also changed from the cloud to the local computer to continue with the webinar. Okay, so we were talking about some warehousing activities for the medium level or medium flavor of warehousing. And the idea is that whenever I start working with that, it means the following. Let me open one of my, in this case, the green warehouse. Let me see what do we have there so we can receive some items and start showing you the basic layouts of how do we actually do all this information. Okay, here, for the warehouses, what we're going to be having is the following. We're going to have some activities that we just set up in the first layout, the first design. Here, I'm opening the location card for the green warehouse with all the relevant information for that warehousing. So when we implement into your company, what we do is tell Business Central what type of documents we're going to be using. This is for the management of my warehouse. First of all, we have, if you want to require receipt, this means that we are going to be separating the reception activities from my purchase order, right? So this is now how we actually set up our medium warehouse process, because we now have the possibility to decide which documents separated from the purchase we want to use. First of all, the require receipt document, which we are going to be checking, the require shipment for the sales operations, and then also, if you need them, we can create putaways, and we also have pickings. Okay, so we have all these 4 different processes available. This is the medium size or the medium flavor of the warehouse. And all of these documents will be separating my warehousing activities from the actual purchase order. Why? Well, like I said, because the warehouse clerk is not related to any purchasing information. And this is the way we can decide what processes are going to be now available in this warehouse, that we are actually checking what are the configurations, so we can just continue working with our webinar for you and then check what information. Okay, what is the basic warehouse that we just reviewed before? Whenever we do everything in our purchase order is because we haven't set up anything, right? Like all the processes that I have mentioned before are not set up. And here I just have the required for a reception and shipment and the put aways, everything is blank. That's why we do everything in the purchase side, right? So we're going to be, why not to change the actual configuration live? This actually is not done that way. We consult and set it up for you when we implement, but just for the demo, I'm going to check and I'm going to, why not select another process, require receive. Let's see what happens when I start configuring all the documents that you select. You tell us what you want, right? And then we are going to be then checking how it looks like here in the webinar. I'm going to create a purchase order. Let me see. Not yet back. Okay, so the purchase order is being created as well here in this search bar that we are going to have from by clicking this magnifying glass lens. We are going to be able just to open all the requirements that we want to see, like for instance my vendors, if I want to see my items. So you have different type of suggestions. Do you want to send a sales quote? Do you want to see your items? Or why not to check your reports related to the services, right? Or if you want to explore Business Central, right? That's also a possibility. So, but for now, in this case, what I want to do, just to present the purchase and the warehouse process, I'm going to create another purchase order where I'm going to be including some items. And then while doing that, presenting how then the document will be separated from the normal purchasing process. Okay, so let's wait for this and include a vendor. Again, in the vendor selection process, I'm just going to select a random vendor. In this case, it's called Progressive Home Furnishings. So I'm just selecting a regular vendor from where a Business Central is going to bring all this information from the vendor, and then you are going to be, while checking your purchase document, minimize or review all the information, maximize it or minimize to focus more your items insertion and open your screen widely. All right. Oh, I forgot to mention, very important, that you can actually just prepare from the actual quotation that your vendor sent you, then just immediately copy paste or import from Excel into your purchase document all the information. The idea is that this is now seamlessly integrated with the Office tools, right? And most importantly, you don't have to work anymore manually. You just can copy paste. Even though we are only actually working in a browser, right? You can actually use those functions, and this is very, very important. Actually, that integration for Excel is very important when you have large purchase orders, or my favorite, all the accountants love that function because they prepare a lot of journals, a lot of reports, sometimes in Excel, and we now have tools that help us to automate all of that without you having to do anything. Your bank reconciliation as an example, right? Okay, so the vendor invoice is here, and I'm just preparing this information for the purchase. So what am I gonna do is, once again, change the status of my purchase order from open to release. And what happened here? Now, this is the medium flavor. Whenever I'm start purchasing, your purchaser is gonna be negotiating, doing all of these activities I'm doing, including the items. I'm buying a bicycle today in the blue warehouse that I have just set up with the specific document separated from the purchase order to receive. And as I show you, you just need to select which documents you want to manage. Okay, so I'm releasing this purchase order in order to tell the system, okay, I have sent this to the vendor. We have decided when to receive the cost, everything, and most importantly for the warehouse, when to receive your items. With this, Business Central, what it does while changing the status, let me see. While checking the status, this is gonna be helping me to release this to the warehouse and making it available. So the purchaser can just say, okay, now the warehouse clerk is going to be able to check the information, and then once I release this document, he's going to be able to receive, right? So basically that's it. At this point, I should open the warehouse clerk function where I'm going to be actually able to open that information and just receive that without having to see the purchase order, all right? But in this case, since I'm an administrator, what I'm gonna be doing now is actually, let me see from this window, I'm going to be then just receiving from this actual purchase and create the warehouse receipt because I'm the administrator. But at this point, what we have is that the warehouse clerk can review the following document immediately. In this case, I'm going to click on the warehouse and create warehouse receipt because now this is required. I'm not going to be receiving anymore in my purchase order. Very important. And then one warehouse receipt header has been created, correct? So this means, I'm gonna click on OK, that the document, oh, I need to assign myself, excuse me, this is a second environment that is requiring me to assign myself as a warehouse employee. Because I'm working in a second environment that I'm using currently just because Azure is making some updates. But you would need to assign all your people to in this case, as a warehouse employee, to the once we left the basic warehousing and we are now working with more activities, we need to actually, for your processes, just do all this information, right? So very well. Now that I have the blue warehouse here, what I'm going to be doing is that I have assigned myself to this, and I'm going to be then checking and let's see the warehouse receipt again. Okay, I have created it. And let's check warehouse receipt. And in a separate process, your warehouse clerk is only going to check this document. He's going to be checking the warehouse receipt document. In this case, this is the number. And here from the blue warehouse on this specific date, he's going to be able to check now with his scanner, open a tablet, and start going to the reception area and review the quantities, or if you have the barcode as well, right? And start just scanning your items, and here the quantity to receipt of the field will be then update. Of course, this cannot be a zero, so I'm going to start checking that I have the quantity to receive field updated with the quantities that I'm actually just scanning, and the quantity to receive, in this case, could be 4. You can have partial receptions, one by one, or many documents. So we have partial shipments and partial receptions, and you can assign this to a user. But in the middle warehousing flavor, this is manually done, all right? In the WMS process, we are going to be checking that we are going to have, of course, different users that will be immediately assigned if they are in the reception area or in the shipment, etc. But at this point, this is done manually. So I'm the manager and I can assign this task to Noé so he can then go now to the reception bay. And as well, we have this sorting method because you might have multiple items. Do you want to sort your information by item, by document, or due date of the reception process, right? According to the purchase side, right? And etc. So here's my due date, very important. When I'm going to be registering this is most importantly for your inventory updates, then later for your payments, etc. But most importantly, your user is not seeing any purchasing or vendor or any related information that is not important for. So what I'm just doing now is that I will be just making the reception by clicking on post receipt. And voila. So do you want to post your reception? And I'm just gonna click on yes. Once that is done, then also my original purchase document will be updated. Okay, remember that that's in another department. in the purchasing area, because now I'm only working in my warehouse, and this is now registering all the information, updating the cost, updating the inventory in my warehouse by clicking this, and of course, updating the purchase order document. So once that is done, the idea is that every document linked to this, or even if I am creating now invoices, now this will be available. So I have posted this, and with the warehouse reception that I have just created, like I said, since everything is linked now, my purchase order as well will be updated. So if I just go back to the original purchase document that I created, I'm going to have some updates. So the quantity that the warehouse clerk in the warehouse received is 4 units, correct? So now my purchase order linked to that other document is as well updated automatically. And with that, also I will be able to open documents. And if I check from the purchase order the received documents that I have, then also my a document will be available for me, the purchaser, to see the entire history. So basically, that's the main idea of the of this flavor of warehousing. We need to start separating from our purchase order different documents like picking, shipment, reception, right? Without yet actually going into the WMS section where we handle zones, special equipment, or other features that we are going to present now. So hopefully there are not so far any doubts, so we can continue checking this. And then what I'm gonna do in order to check and finalize this part of the webinar, which is the actual WMS, I need to present you my location. And I am going to open, let me see from this one, which is WMS, the white one. In the white warehouse, what I'm going to be checking now is how the configuration is done. Once again, I have the general information. I'm open the location card to check the design of my warehouse. And I'm seeing here that I have many activities that were set up here. I need to receive, but as well I need to ship, to put away, require picking, etc., etc. Okay, so as well, it's very important to define something that is going to be very useful, because for WMS, what we're going to be doing, let me explain you before I'm going deeper into an exercise. We're going to be able to manage some intelligence and some standards that we need to verify. We do not only need to set up the basic idea of what I also showed you before, but with WMS, we have other features more important, only with the most advanced type of warehouse where your activities are very organized. You have your shelves organized. Every shelf have some specific items with maybe a maximum capacity per shelf, etc. And in order to do so, in order to start managing that, we're gonna have to select the bid mandatory setup and the direct put away. Direct put away and picked is just a setup to internally replenish your items as well, not the actual purchase replenishment, but just inside. Inside what? Well, now my warehouse have different zones. They have the bulk, the picking. Actually, well, in this environment, I also produce, and I have quality assurance zone. So here, I'm going to be able to replenish this from the reception area, and you can decide where are your products located, what type of activities you do. For instance, we have the shipping zone, the stage, the production, but you might have frozen, for those of you who work in the food industry, different type of areas, different type of zones. That's what we do, okay? And now, of course, all of these different zones are dedicated to different activities, like for instance, the shipping area or the shipping zone. Of course, now they manage special equipment, specific lifts or forklifts, and we have some ranking. Ranking, what is that? What is the ranking now when we start going in depth and designing more advanced warehouses. This is because if we see that we have 200, you can select any number. The 200 means that this is the most important above the all different zones that you can see that in this zone ranking column, we have different numbers. Well, the largest number means that I need my items here immediately, because when we work with WMS, we manage something that we call a wave. So you receive all your items in the reception area, which has the zone ranking number 10. And then what we do is that, most importantly, immediately, because we manage many purchases in that type of warehouse. Imagine a large warehouse. We have many trucks coming, or maybe 2 or 3 vendors, or in the reception bay, you have 3 or 4 people working as a minimum. Then we need that Business Central helps me to create transfers internally in my warehouse automatically by knowing where the items are. And yes, we can do so and immediately create internal transfer orders or internal movements to the specific different shelves, right? But by priority as well, I'm going to need any item in the shipping zone, all right? And as well, I can see here, very important for the ranking, the picking zone, all right? So once you fill my picking zone, immediately send the items to the shipping zone, because they have 100 and 200, because in my series of ranking, they have the largest number. So you decide which number you want to use. Apart from that, regarding the design, I'm going to be able to create bins. So talking about ranking and where is most important to have my items, but internally it's not only about zones, all right? If you want, you can have the zones created. And if you want, we can go in depth by creating bins. Bins and shelves are the capacity of organizing my warehouse by different aisles and different shelves, vertical, horizontal, yeah, right? All your organization of the warehouse can be reflected by zone and bins in Business Central. So the bin is the minimum unit of measure that we have in your warehouse. So this could be maybe a shelf, or this could be maybe a special, a specific furniture for little pieces that you have maybe in jewelry or for food, right? That where you have bins, let's say the frozen area have different fridges, all right? Internally as well, different boxes, right? And so that's the idea of the bin, just giving you some hints, or well, typically we just manage shelves with different levels, right? And different spaces. So the bin is the minimum empty space that you have available for your warehouse design. That is contain all the bins. Every zone can contain any amount of bins that you want. And with this, then we're going to be designing the actual warehouse for the WMS. And this is the last slide, just giving you some hints of what the actual WMS process is. And with that, if I actually purchase, I'm going to need to actually receive, then transfer from the receive, why not, if I'm not mistaken, to the bulk area. And then if I need to produce, or if I either need to sell my components, then I can decide if I just send the components to the production, or just maybe ship and send the components directly to the shipping area. Because I also maybe in every company, I could use my components to assembly, or I can use as well, use the same components to actually just sell. Okay, so hopefully that's helping you to giving you a hint of what the actual process is. And just let me explain you one last thing. Whenever we actually work with the warehousing explanation, we're going to have we're going to have in our warehouse some specific rules. The first rule, whenever I work with bins, means the following. I'm going to start receive an item. In first place, look for the fixed bin where this item should be located, right? That's what we call the fixed bin. We might have some bins that are dedicated 100% for one specific type of item. Okay, so if I receive something from a purchase, immediately find that bin that is dedicated to for one item, and then find, or if there is no, look at least for where I have items that are similar to the one that I'm receiving and put my item there. So we are now working with automation. Find the same unit of measure if necessary, and look at the quantity there if we have available space. So that's the first rule that I'm organizing in this little window. So Business Central is going to check that. As a second rule, just in case I don't find exactly that, then at least look for another bin. This is the second rule where I have this item, right? And just look at the, in that case, just look for the same item with the same unit of measure, all right? Don't look at the capacity, but at least that's the second rule. Tell me where these other items are so I can locate them at least there, all right? And then my third rule, if you don't have a fixed bin for an item, look for this is the find a floating bin. This means that at least look for an empty bin that is available and tell the user to put my items in that floating bin. Of course, if you can find a floating bin that is not dedicated, but it's at least available and it contains the find the same item rule is applied here, right? Without having a fixed bin, look in my warehouse where this type of item is, and even if it's not a dedicated bin, and so on. The last rule, and in order to be, we are from the most specific to the less specific, well, the last rule at least, give me a floating bin. And we have a checkbox here telling me that will be the last rule. If you don't have items, if you don't have enough space, if you don't have a dedicated bin for a specific item, at least give me an empty space. And that's the idea of the WMS, because this is going to now give you some help while you are actually working. So the warehouse clerk actually is concentrated on scanning, counting, review quality, etc., you know, those activities. But now with Business Central is going to organize and help you organize according to the layout that you presented and you need to be implemented. Then, well, Business Central helps you with those type of rules. Okay, why not to make just the last exercise once you have the idea. And I'm going to create just a purchase order to verify that. Let me see. Okay, and by checking that, I'm going to open once again a purchase order. Let me now change once again what I tried to do before in my settings as well. I would like to change from the business manager to the warehouse management system screen so you can see it now. Okay, what do I have here for the warehouse clerk? Now, I have all my activities that I need to do. Okay, I have the outbound, the inbound, internal, user tasks. So these are movements. I'm going to have for today, well, this is a second demo that I'm using for the webinar because Azure is making maintenance, but should be, or Business Central should be showing me my daily activities that I have assigned coming from the purchase side in order to see what are the putaways, the movements, the pickings that I have for the day, my task. Whenever I also from Outlook, you can assign some, as a manager, some specific administrative or internal task in the warehouse. And here you can also separate it from the normal inventory management processes. You can assign other type of tasks coming from Outlook and show it here. Also, we have timesheets just to review how many hours any warehouse clerk as well has have worked in the past. All right. So once I have this, I have many activities related to warehousing. Actually, warehousing is a huge universe where I'm going to have accounting, I'm going to have adjustments, I'm going to have labels, printing, handhelds, all right? But I just want to give you in this webinar just some basics for you to take the idea. All right. For me, because I'm an administrator, as well gonna create a purchase order for that specific warehouse. And what am I gonna be doing now is just creating for the white warehouse some inventory to be received, to be put away, and to see how then it looks to work now with WMS. Okay, once again, in the purchase order, I'm going to include some inventory in order and a vendor in order to create a purchase order document. And with that, I'm going to be able to present you the WMS documents, all right? I'm going to start purchasing the same item that I used before, didn't give me any issues, so I'm going to use it again. And I'm going to include now the white location. The location code, the white warehouse here contains all the information related to WMS. I'm going to start receiving 5 bicycles. You still have here the bin, look, the bin code, but at this point it's not necessary to have these items. But something that will be good for you maybe, you can now design your screen whenever you want. So you can maybe include fields. This is not done by a programmer. The user have the possibility to include fields whenever they want it. For instance, I don't want the bin code as an example, and I can customize it and move this field that I don't want to see, because the bin is now managed to manage from the I'm dragging the field that I don't want. And the idea of the design, of course, let me see, remove. Okay, the idea of the design is that the user is now going to be available to put the fields, to change maybe this green square should be up or down, so you can drag and drop according to your preferred design. All these fields, you can change them from the left to the right and so on. And you can basically design your screen, right? So that's the most important, also very good side of Business Central, because now in the web client, you won't need a programmer in order to do these basic tasks that every user have different preferences basically, right? So include your fields and do all of that by yourself, and just basically design your screen. Also, you can design for not only the desktop, but now I can show, and I'm showing now how it looks, the same screen in a tablet, or why not your cell phone if you want it. So as well, since I just need to open a browser, now I have Android applications, you can do all your work on mobile as well. Okay, so hopefully you get the basic idea, but now I'm gonna continue doing my warehousing activities. Okay, once I have this, I'm going to include vendor number invoice. Very well, very large. So I'm including my items, and you can include all the information that you can see here in these fields, and then I'm just going to release this order so the warehouse clerk can just receive it. This should be considering that I'm making the negotiation, sending to the vendor, etc., and at the end release it, so the warehouse clerk can see at the end of the purchasing process the purchase to receive, which is the 106025, so he can then just work with these purchases. And I should be continuing doing more purchases and purchases and more purchases. Why? Because in the WMS, why is the WMS working? How does it work? Well, mainly because it has zones and bins and priorities and capacities, but also we manage multiple documents at the same time, not only one by one like we did with the previous setups that we showed before. Now, once the purchase orders are open, released, the warehouse clerk is going to be able to work with multiple documents at the same time. How does he do that? I have opened the warehouse clerk window, and he's going to be able now to do the following. He can make all the peaks at the same time. Remember that you have help from Business Central to do so, movements, warehouse shipments, reception, of course, transfer orders. And last but not least, we have assembly orders that we do in the warehouse. So maybe you are kitting, you are preparing your own, let's say, well, we were talking about technology. Maybe you are assembling your computers, purchase the items, the components, and then have a finished product. Or maybe just give you a hint of the WMS functionality with assembly. Maybe you have some items that are important to be assembled only when your customer gives you an order, what he wants with the features. Talking about technology with specific processor, talking about a special kit for I don't know, special orders, right? That you can assembly to the order or in advance, like more or less with manufacturing you do, assembly first, go with the process and so on. Okay, what I'm gonna do after that, I'm going to open the warehouse receipts window. With this, I'm going to create a new reception. And in WMS, what we do, now that you know that we work with multiple documents, this is different from the previous windows we saw. So here, I'm going to start including a new reception for the location code. I need to add another setup, warehouse employee, to include myself in the white warehouse as a clerk. Okay, so once again here, Noé, but in the white one. And this will be for now my default warehouse. Okay, once I have that part configured, let me see if this is updated automatically. Yes. Okay, I'm going to select the white warehouse, and just to finalize, sorry for the delay, I'm going to try to make this a little bit shorter, but all the documents now in WMS work this way. I'm going to start creating the reception, and look, I have bin code that is related to my reception. So I'm putting my items in one specific zone, in one specific bin. Also, you can assign, or the manager is going to be able to assign a specific reception for a specific user, the assignment date and the assignment time, because now we're going to start measuring in WMS some statistical information about the performance of the employees, right? Actually, this can be done in basic and medium warehouses as well. So reports are there, the statistical information is there, but this is more identifiable and more useful here in this type of processes where I have zones, different clerks, different bins, etc. Now, another function that I have is the use filters and get source documents. We have a lot of purchase orders. We have maybe dozens just related for the today or yesterday activities that I need to complete now. So if I click on get source documents, as an example, I'm going to have a secondary window that maybe my manager called me, hey, Noé, please check, remember that we are in WMS, and check the specific purchase order that my manager tells me, so I can just select it just in case, so I can, and I have access for me as a warehouse to all the purchasing documents, all right, available. So basically that's the idea. And here you're going to be able to select from all of these or maybe many documents at the same time, not only one. Remember that we can select now a lot, or you can search by document, why not? So maybe 6025 was maybe. So, all right, so I have the purchase order I have created, and the idea is that you can just immediately search from your library any purchase order available. But most importantly, the most important function that you're going to be using in WMS is the following. Actually, what we're going to be doing, let me just create another setup, Noes activities. Okay, what this does is that at the end, what I'm going to be filtering is now, I'm going to be receiving only some specific items, or I can filter by some specific vendors. So I'm going to just modify and run the following. I'm going to need to select what I'm going to be receiving now. Do I want to receive a purchase order, an inbound transfer order, or maybe you want to receive a specific return. Somebody calls you, your manager called Noe, the manager called, receives only some specific items. So from a return from a customer, select the item by, from the items, the list of items related to what you want to search, right? Sometimes we need to be really, really specific, right? But as well, we are just in the normal process of selecting. Just give me only the purchase orders as an example that are maybe partially received, or in this case, I just want all the purchase orders available, but maybe you want to select one specific vendor. So buy from vendor, number filter. So just select it, and now we are filtering only one we want, because you saw that we have a lot of purchasing documents. And once you do that, just select from all these different criteria, maybe the item, the unit of measure, all of these fields available for you. Just let me put the window there so you can see it, because it's very important in the warehousing process. So once we have that, I'm just going to run it. And this function is going to provide all the information that I requested. And here in the lines, I only requested from one vendor all the purchases that I need to receive today on a specific date. Here I have the specific date that I'm working. This is in a demo environment, so I'm in the future, right? But this should be, of course, my today's date. And here I have now only the bicycle that I will be receiving. With that, that is all I need to do. I should be once again scanning, checking the quantity to receive, and you know that this will be updating my purchase order and everything we have specified before. But the idea, you have it already, and the idea now is that in WMS we have more and more and more advanced functions. If I wanted as well, we could just cross-dock these specific bicycles, just because maybe the customer immediately needs it, and I could just, instead of stocking my inventory on my zones, I just immediately send it to the shipping area, or even if I wanted, I could send it to the customer. But of course, this needs to be done from the reception area, at least because I need to check the quality and I need to check the quantities that I'm receiving. Now, the warehouse clerk can also, why not, print what he has done, and etc. So warehouse receipt, we are going to just give you a preview, because the idea is that we are going to also, in the implementation, include the logo of your company, include any field that you want and information that is important for you, your address, etc., etc. So that's it. Basically, the warehouse receipt can be just printed, and with that, okay, just the most important information will be just here, right? It could be printed in PDF or showed. This same information sometimes is also very important, sent to the scanners, all right? So let me just go back to my 100%. Okay. And once that is done, then I just immediately just need to post this reception. I review the quality, I review the quantities, and I just post the receipt. So do you want to post the receipt immediately? But also as well, we can just post and print and print a put away. So you can create a put away activity immediately. So what is a put away? My items will be now in the reception bay once I'm scanning, but at some point you remember that they are in a specific zone, they are in a specific bin, and at some point I need to move those items to the stocking or production area, or immediately send them to the shipping or picking area, wherever the item belong. And according to the inventory levels, well, this is now with the intelligence process being reviewed and analyzed, so you can immediately put your warehouse clerk into the actual shelf that it belongs. And all of these that we're going to be checking now is just a suggestion, because at the end, the manager and the warehouse clerk decide where to put the items. They have the last word when it comes to warehousing. Okay, so this is now creating a warehouse activity, and it's printing something. Okay, so the idea is that I have now received something, some bicycles in this case, excuse me, and I need to, at the end, just put them away. So they belong to one specific area, to one specific place. And then what am I gonna be doing is just, for me as a warehouse clerk, that maybe I even might be in another bay, in another area, in the same warehouse, correct? But in another place, then I'm going to open the put away process, because I'm going to put now and stock my item in one specific area. From this purchase order, if I just open a put away, let me see the information that I have. I have the source document, the bicycles, the quantity that I need, the quantity to handle, because I'm going to start scanning. But let me see, I need to include some fields only, just to verify where I need to put these items. So let me design and include some fields. The location code, the type, I like the type, very well. Location, number series. The activity type. Okay, while this is updating, what I want to do is that I want to see the instruction that Business Central or myself, I'm going to do it manually as well, automatically and manually. I want to know what action I should do. This should be telling me you should take from one bin, from one specific bin, you need to take some items and put them away in another in another part, right? Let me see, activity type put away. Ready, so type, location, shelf, quantities, quantity to handle. The bin code is here as well. Excuse me for the delay. All of this was not configured, but you saw what happened with the process. But we are just anyway able to continue with our process just to show the webinar. Okay, this is updating my information with the bin code. Just to avoid, at least I'm going to give you the most important information to save some time, at least from your, I know that you have important activities today to be completed. So here I have the bin code, and the action type also will be here, at least just to finalize some. Okay, so while this is updating, in the first line, I have the bin code number actually, and in the second line, as you can see here, now I have two lines, okay? In the first one is the origin of the, where my currently item is, right? The origin of the, of the inventory, and then, as you can see, please take my, let me just close now again this. Stop designing. This is good because you can see how now I'm designing my screen, and I'm just a regular user, right? That is seeing this screen, but I wanted to show the following. This is only telling me take from the bin code and the specific number, the item, the 5 pieces, and place these same 5 bicycles in the second line in this other bin code. This was just a suggestion by intelligence internally, because with the rules that you saw, a Business Central knows where the bicycle should be put it away, where I have enough space, or if I don't have that case, that's not the case, where at least suggest me an empty bin, all right? But since the warehouse manager at the end have the last word, you can still come and edit all this information manually. For instance, from the take or original reception bay, I'm gonna place my item and you can select the actual bin if you don't like the suggestion done by Business Central, or you have some space struggles where you need to somehow work with this and reorganize on the fly some of the positions of your inventory and the items that are located in different bins. You can see as well here which bins are empty, and I have the list of bins available starting with W, and then with these following numbers that might mean a nail, a shelf, etc. But we have a specific criteria that we can design the numbers for you, and basically, well, with that suggestion, I can accept it or no, or I can change it. You can as well change the quantities and start doing all that. But at the end, I also can just print it. If I don't have scanners, well, just print your information, go into the different bays and into the different shelves and complete your task. And this should be including, since I can manage different purchase orders and as well different type of items that could be filtering just to maybe let's try to receive an entire purchase, an entire truck, or if you decided with some criteria, let's just receive from different purchase orders all the items that belong to a frozen, to the frozen area, the general bulk, or let's try to, with Business Central, follow the instruction that Business Central gives me in order to put away directly into the picking area just the items that are left there to immediately replenish. So even though this is just a form, this is very easy to see, to understand, but behind the scene, we have dozens of calculations working for me, available, and we consultants do all that for you when we just implement it. So I'm just going to register the put away, and basically we are finalizing now the idea of the WMS. I don't know if this is because of time constraints, correct? But of course, I could create just a sales orders or many sales orders, right? Where I just will be doing a shipping process. But I'm going to stop here because I want to give you at least this hint, this idea of the process, this half of the process, because of the issue we have with Assure. But believe me, the document and the functionality you have seen is just exactly the same, but in the other side, when we actually just sell items and prepare a shipment, we have and we can filter the items we need to sell, and we just accommodate, prepare a pick, and it looks exactly the same as my put away. Take from one bin, place to the other bin, but in this case should be in the shipping or picking area, and then you are going to be able to create a sales order where now you're going to have available inventory in order to just do that. Okay, just to finalize, very important, I have an unassigned movement here. Business Central is telling me, hey, please don't go yet. You need to complete some specific tasks because I found some empty space for some items that I'm finding where we need to immediately transfer some items into, let's see what I have here. Just take them and place them. Oh, we need to move to the picking area. We need to move then as well to the, let me see the zone code, quality assurance. We need to do some quality controls and also in the bulk area. All right, so I need to also put some items in the regular storage zone because it's empty and we need 2 pieces reviewing the capacity. So I need to create a movement. What is a movement? It's an internal transfer actually from one bin to another, all right? When the transfer is between warehouses, that's what we call a regular transfer order. When it's an internal movement, well, this is the document we use and we can assign it to a specific user. With these instructions, we can follow them. But it's good to have some help from Business Central at this point, and I can just print it again or use my handheld. And once the movement is done, in the quantity to handle field, put the items that you are actually taking from one place to another according to your instructions that you once again have here in the action type. Take from one bin, which is in this case the W0201, and place the same item in the quality control. And now take your second item manual for loudspeaker from the bulk area and place them or move them to the stage zone. So basically, we also are going to have a specific assignments for this specific date and time, because now Mr. Noé here present needs to perform these tasks. Once he finishes, he just needs to register the movement. So that's the idea. We don't have this type of operation in the basic or in the middle warehouse. Hopefully somehow you're getting now the idea, right? We are having now more tasks related to the bin related processes, because we now manage, as you can see here, we have waves, right, to move from different areas in the beginning, from the shipping, from the reception, then to the you decide how your warehouse is going to be. Or maybe even though if it's advanced, you don't use all these zones. You only have the stock, the reception, maybe the picking area, and at the end just the shipping area. So you need to understand the logic behind of this. That's what I want to give you. We manage in one single action, like in this movement, we are going to transfer many items at once. We can receive many items at once, many documents, many purchase orders, right? Or in this case, 4 lines automatically suggested by Business Central to move and put my items away and move them into the empty spaces that I have, because at the end I still continue selling, right? And I'm going to leave empty space. So with that, I just need to register my movement, and I actually just finalizing a wave, right? To move from one zone to another zone, right? So basically, that's the idea of what I'm doing. And then, well, just to finalize, I can create a warehouse shipment, right? And whenever I just create such a, oh no, but this is for the blue one. Let's create for the white. Okay, I have another shipment that is sent, in this case in the sales department, somebody else is creating sales order, and I have suddenly a warehouse, no, let me see, I'm not checking their reception, but the shipments, excuse me. Here, the shipments. Okay, yes, somebody is releasing sales orders. So as you can see, I'm doing the warehouse a clerk functionality now, okay? So let's take a look at this. Now, Mr. Noé has already previously worked. I finalized my reception. Now I moved some items, but the work still continues. And Mr. Noé still have to finalize, because I'm doing everything today, right? Now it needs to continue and finalize a shipping, right? So it's released, sent from a release from a sales order, and I have to move now once again my loudspeakers that I actually was moving, but now they are requested to be sent to the shipping area, because what I'm doing now is attending a sales order. So the same items that I'm moving from the internally to the empty spaces, into the shipping, into the picking zone, now are actually required to be just shipped. And this has been picked, partially picked already, right? So the other way that you can continue just reviewing this is that, hey, I still have 20 pieces to ship, right? I have some quantity still outstanding to complete that I have not shipped. Here I have the unit of measure. Very well. And with that, some other options that we are going to be having. Here you can assign serial numbers. You can assembly from this area, right? Because remember that your customer sometimes requires some specific items with some specific features, right? But we have a process in Business Central that allows to do so. So it depends of your manufacturing level. If it's just a kit, just immediately send it to the assembly area, start assembling your items immediately and deliver, right? And ship it in this case, excuse me.
right? But so in other type of more advanced processes, well, you would need to assembly first, have a finished product, and then it's going to be available then at the end of the process to be shipped in this case, right? So with this, the idea is that from the same shipment that I have, I can create for myself or for the other people, I can just create the specific picking activities that from the actual bins that I have, and just need to create the picking activity whenever it applies with the, because this is partially picked. So I need to just finalize the picking process, right? With my handheld and etc. I just need to continue to finalize that in order to prepare my shipment. So the truck is now in the bay, or maybe your customer is in the warehouse waiting for the products and so on. And what I'm doing now is just preparing the picking activities, only maybe related at this point of the WMS, or also the medium warehouse also has picking activities, but the only difference is that the medium flavor do not use bins. So hopefully that's clarifying the idea, giving you some hints of how WMS is actually working. And once I just finalize my activity, I just will need to just post the shipment. And from here, either, it depends on your internal policies, tell us what you want. This can be just shipped, or if you want it, you can actually just ship an invoice. So remember that we have links previously that we show with the purchase order. It's exactly, guess what? This is just exactly the same with the sales orders. And in this case, I can ship an invoice, and this could be immediately only an invoice as a rule in WMS, basic or medium flavor. I only can prepare an invoice if I have shipped the inventory and the items have left my company, my facilities, in other words, and maybe this could be in transit, but once this is the items left the warehouse, I can also prepare, like in this scenario, the invoice as well. So the sales order can be just immediately updated, and well, immediately once the items left my warehouse, immediately, this means that this is not my asset anymore, right? Looking from the accountability side, these are already belongings. They belong to the customer, and this should be waiting now for the last part of the process when in finance they wait for the payment from the customer. Okay, so you decide what will be your policy on maybe the warehouse clerk is only is going to be available only to or he's going to have permissions only to ship without having to invoice. It depends according to your criteria. Both are available. All right, so that's it for today. With the time constraints, I'm not going to be able to continue to show more transactions, but we have counts, we have adjustments as well. If you maybe have scrap as well, right? We have item journals, the physical inventory journal, at least just to show it very fast. The physical inventory journal is, well, where I count to remember that I have some specific items that should be counted on a maybe every 2 months, some other only once a year, etc. So calculate inventory function in the inventory journal is going to give me the quantities that should be calculated with the registering date that I specify, right? In the location code that I specified. Even you can filter by different bin, by a different item, and etc. in the specific zone if you want it as well. It depends now of the regular process of counting, right? So by calculating the inventory, this is going to give me the items that I have actually in a specific area, zone, or even in the entire warehouse. So this is going to be starting checking all that I should be having in the system at least, right? So you can compare it with the actual physical inventory that you have on premises. How to see those, how this process is done? Well, when it finishes calculating what I have, the idea is that I'm going to be able to use my handheld or just to print the form of the physical inventory And this is what you're going to be seeing if you want to print. I have all the lines here, the registering date, and here all my items. Look at the descriptions because I have some other information, but in this case are more related to my electronical devices, right? In this case, a Twitter speaker, cabins, spikes, manual for loudspeakers. Okay, so I have all these items and I have all the quantity, very important, the quantity calculated by the system, right? So this is what I have internal in my warehouse, at least calculated by Business Central, and your job is to count in the specific fields, right, how many actual items you have. So use your handheld, or if you wanted, just print this form, print exactly what you have here, and you can actually just do the following. Do you want to show the calculated, which I do not recommend? And do you want to print the serial lot numbers? Well, this will be important. Yes, of course, this is very important if I just use them, all right? So by preview or print, and this can be transferred to your handheld, the same information, and well, it depends on the type of handheld that you have, but at least if you want to print it, well, this is what we're gonna be looking at. The actual items that will be counted, the quantity calculated, that I can use it or no, right, in the printed form. And here, well, the best practice is not to include the quantity calculated and just give the blank a column that I have here as physical inventory so the people can start counting. Then once this is done, transfer either automatically with a handheld or manually, or even if you want, just copy paste this form into an Excel, print it in Excel if you want it, and then copy paste it into these forms. Remember that I can just immediately work with Excel, right? Very, very, very important. Let's show some of that. Send to email if you want it. Well, no, not yet important, just to send by email. It's not important when not that important when I actually count my inventory. But let me see if I want to show you something. Okay, I have it available here. I wanted to export this to Excel because sometimes it's even faster with Excel or Word or any other type of file. All right. Okay, but it's not available yet here. I would need to find it and include it here. But you saw that I can just start designing. All right. Well, so once you just calculate and include your information, you just come here and then just register your count. With that, your inventory will be updated, but as well, the different quantities, and behind the scene, we calculate the cost, of course. So thank you very much. Hopefully this is giving you a hint of what is the idea of the basic through the levels and the flavors, I like to call it, the flavors of warehousing that you require. Without this information, if you want it, I can give you a specific demo if you want it for you to give you more transactions, more ideas. If you have specific type of warehousing activities for food services, for food, not only that, chemicals, for assembly management, all these activities that I don't have honestly enough time to show all the features, but this is the basics, all right? Just let me know if you want something specific to be shown, right? This is a general explanation of what WMS, what basic is, and what medium warehousing, medium flavor is. So you can take the idea, give it, understand that, and get your certification with this great knowledgement about what is this side of the warehouse processes overall, right? So let me know if you have any doubts or further requests. And that's it for today. Thank you very much. If you have further questions, please just let me know. And we have finalized the webinar for today. 1 second, please. I'm going to call you back. And then don't forget that we're going to have some other webinars for the following weeks. And I'm going to be, it will be my pleasure to present any request that you might have. Look at the optimus.guru webinars. Send me your questions as we always, I receive all of them. So sometimes, because this is just the first webinar we have, well, I just prepare immediately, but sometimes I just have the possibility to be with the users and answer their specific questions and include them in my webinars whenever they want. Take a look at the topics we're going to be presenting, and just let me know if you need something, if you need manuals, if you need maybe this recording or specific information. Okay, since I do not have further questions, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day, and see you next